Hey everyone, welcome into our event today. Really excited to have you all here. My name is Antonio. I'm the Director of Operations at the Blockchain Education Network. We're the largest and longest running network of students, alumni, professors, teachers, and community leaders from all around the world. Thanks for joining our call today with DigitalBits. We have Rajiv Naidu, Head of Research and Community, Kimberly Adams, VP of Marketing, and Alexander, Head of DevOps. For those who are not familiar with DigitalBits, is an open source blockchain infrastructure powering the next generation of consumer digital assets. And I also like to make a quick introduction to the next top blockchain startup. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure to check out the links. I'll be posting them. It's an online competition and incubation program where you can share and publish your ideas and start hacking, because there's going to be a lot of cool stuff being built there. So now I'll give the floor to DigitalBits.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for the intro, Antonio. So today we'll be going over building a consumer digital asset on the DigitalBits network. So I'm just gonna share my screen real quick and then we'll jump into it. Okay, cool. So building a consumer digital asset. So let's start off with what is a consumer digital asset. So it's a pretty broad asset category. It basically refers to anything that consumers come into contact with. And as the digital economy continues to grow, this asset category continues to become more and more broad. So ones that we've specifically specialized in are branded currencies, so loyalty points, reward points, gift certificates and whatnot, branded stablecoins, NFTs, and FLAN tokens. So these are all examples of consumer digital assets, or CDAs. And they can be used to power a number of different activations. These could be payments, reward generation. We're seeing more and more access. So if some of you guys saw the Kings of Leon NFT drop, there's actually an NFT that grants you access to certain perks and promotions, and obviously collectibles, which we see through NFTs. And then what blockchain technology does is it gives us a superior alternative to the existing CDA infrastructure that we see out there today. It brings the cost down, it gives people a lot more flexibility, and it just enhances the overall consumer experience. Consumer assets have been around for a while. We can date them all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, where people would get beer and bread tokens for engaging and interacting with like certain merchants and whatnot. And over time, we've seen this develop to the really robust branded currency economy we see today. And consumer digital assets and what we're doing with blockchain is just the next iteration of this. So what makes a CDA valuable? They're a vehicle for driving consumer behavior. It allows you to gamify consumer touch points and create value that goes past the point of sale. So when we think of what you guys are going to be doing, which is creating a CDA, what makes it effective? So the first thing we want to look at is re-engagement, right? The point of launching these programs is that someone will come back to you again and again, building that loyalty. When you get that, you get what's called overspend revenue. And overspend revenue refers to, let's say, someone was generated $50 worth of points. More likely than not, when they come back to redeem that, they're going to actually spend more than $50. So they go and they redeem their $50, but they spend $20, $30 over, and that's a big revenue generator. And then the other two things, there's a little bit of relation back to the first 2 points, but enhancing the brand image, increasing consumer perceived value. And then the last thing is data collection, right? Because the more consumer touch points that take place and the more the consumers interact with your brand, the better the data feedback loop is. And then what you can do is take that and then cater your products and services to better serve them. And one of the examples we look at is Stars from Starbucks. So it's one of the best loyalty programs out there right now, to the point where 1/3 of all purchases are actually made with Starbucks' own currency. And yeah, so they are very prevalent in the States right now. There's over 3.8 billion unique loyalty memberships, even though there's only a population of 365 million. So that equates to about 11 memberships per person. Every year we see about $50 billion in points generated. And a cool stat to think about is that 64% of consumers said that they wouldn't consider applying for a credit card unless there was an associated rewards program. So these things are very important, and they do create a lot of value for brands and consumers. The problem we see today, though, is that the infrastructure just isn't where it should be, and you're losing value on both sides. So the maintenance cost, the price to initiate a program is really, really high. There's a lack of plug and play solutions. Many of you are probably involved in loyalty programs and you have complex rules and requirements. You need to do XYZ in order to redeem something. Points can expire, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because you've done a number of activations to generate those. And then on top of that too, is that there's not a lot, if any, cross program value transfer. So like you have this asset, you have $50, $100 worth of value, but it can only be used in this very, very specific place. And then that doesn't really give us a lot of power over our money. So introducing DigitalBits as a solution. So DigitalBits is an open source blockchain protocol, streamlines the issuance of assets, transfer and tradability. It allows for things like true asset ownership. So as opposed to having points revoked, you can actually hold custody of those. And it removes the possibility of arbitrary point expiry. Multi-hop features allow this flexibility, introducing a flexible trading environment. So as opposed to your points only being able to spend at one brand or organization, it could potentially be spent at multiple. And that's about it from my end. I'm going to toss it over to Alex from our tech side to dig into actually how to use this protocol.
So constructing a consumer digital asset. Let's imagine we want to sell some apples on blockchain. So for this purpose, we will need just a few things to proceed: source account, which will hold which will hold all our funds and control other accounts. We'll need issuing account, which will play a role of supplier. All right, it will send those apples to distribution account, and and distribution account will sell those apples to the network. And we will need also a Trustwine between issuing and distribution account. So the Trustwine is basically an agreement between these accounts, which says, for example, distribution account says, I trust you, all right, and I will accept your credits. And after this will done, we'll create some apples and send them to our distribution account and create an offer. So let's proceed. So for this purpose, I will use our UI website, user interface, but you guys can use SDKs. We have various SDKs, Java, JavaScript, Ruby, Go, whatever you need. So yeah, I already have a source account, which has some funds. And for you, if you need to create an account, you need to generate key pair, public and secret keys. Just clicking this button does not mean you have already an account. You need to send some funds to this account to make it live. So yeah, as I said, I have already source account and I already prepared key pairs for issuing and distribution accounts. So let's create them. And let's move to build transaction tab and say that our source account going to in the next sequence number for this account in the next ledger, which will be pushed to the network, is going to create some account. We will pay some fee. So base fee in our network have been created for like an anti-spam mechanism, like the DOS protection, you know. So you need to pay something to submit your transaction. And check create account. destination our account, and let's set some starting balance. In DigitalBits network, we have like basic reserve. So when you are about to create an account, consider that after each transaction, you need to have some funds to be left on account. Otherwise, network will deny this transaction. There's a lot to say about this. You can check it in our documentation, but right now, let it be 40. So, okay, we prepared our transaction, and right now we need to how to move this stuff. All right. And right now we need to sign this transaction. So we're using our secret key to sign this transaction and submit to network. All right, we have our issuing account in place. Just using the same method to create our distribution account. Public key, sign, yeah, and submit. All right. So now having issuer and distribution accounts, we can create a Trustwine between them. So basically, we need to create Trustwine between distribution account and issuing account, right? So distribution account will say, I trust issuing account, and I will accept some apples from this account, from this issuing account. All right, signing the transaction using distribution secret key. And submit. All right. So yeah, let's send some apples to our distribution account. So we have our issue account public key, next sequence number, and we're doing some payments to our distribution account. So we check that our apples going from our account, and we send like 1,000 apples. Sign. Sign in with our secret key. Submitting. All right. So we have our apples in place, and if you go, there's a tab Explore Endpoints, Assets. You can check if your assets already in a network, right? Asset issuer. I will set this field, but basically you can just find on asset code. And here we go. Our assets our apples already in place. So now what we need to do is just to create an offer. But we going back to our build transaction tab and saying that our distribution account in the next sequence number will sell manage sell offer. We'll sell apple, which we already received from issue account, and we will sell it for 1 digital bit. Since that's a new offer, we just type in 0 here. Amount, all right. Okay, we are ready to go. Sign. With our secret key. And submit. Open. Low reserve. Probably I need more funds. Wait, maybe I'm sorry, guys. Bad sequence. All right. What the matter of result? I'm sorry, guys. It worked. It worked just before. So anyway, if you go now to offers, right, and all offers, and just check what offers viable. You can see that there's USD, someone $7, someone €7. Yeah, and there's also some hryvnia from my place. And yeah, there's also apples in the bottom because I tested it before. No, TST. Yeah. So anyway, I probably did something wrong, but basically that's all. That's all you need to do to sell your digital assets. And we also have, as I said before, we also have various SDK. So you can adjust your business logic to to any application you have, and just having such system with blockchain history where all transaction is like written forever. I think it's a very good option for any business. So yeah, that's not how I imagine my ending, but thank you anyway, guys.
Awesome, thank you, Alec. I think what would be a good thing to discuss is an example of a source account, a distribution account, and also a trust line. Alex explained that a trust line is between a source account and a distribution account. But Alex, can you explain to us, like in the sense of a real world application, what is an example of a source account? Is this like, for example, Starbucks themselves, holding the Starbucks points, or who is a source account?
Yeah, you're correct. It's like, so the source account has some credits, right? And we need to trust them, right, to receive these credits. We can make this Trustwine to this source account, and then they will send us these credits on our account. So if we make in reference to Starbucks, imagine they're having this bonus system, right? Stars or something like that. I'm not American, but I think there's something like stars. So yeah, so they have this ability on their source account to send their stars, but outside of real world, that's just numbers, right? So we need to that's like my understanding of Trustwines. So we need to trust them to make this Trustwine, and or maybe we can choose another anchor which will represent this Trustwine between Starbucks and us as a customers, right? So by having this Trustwine, we are agreeing that we accept a reality of this token. Yeah, and we accept and we want to receive these credits, right?
Okay, so that's the source account and the trust line. And since Starbucks is an example of the source, who is an example of the distribution account? I saw you mentioned that before. In this example of Starbucks, who is this distributor?
So in this example, which I presented, distribution is like I'd say it's like fund birch or something like that, some currency exchange. So that's not really comparison to Starbucks. With Starbucks, I'd say distribution account would be each customer, right? Mm-hmm. So each customer has an account, and they creating a Trustwine to Starbucks. So the Starbucks can send them bonuses, right? And they can spend these bonuses on their network.
Okay, that makes sense. Got it. I actually have I have a general question for Alex. If, let's say, I had my own application that is already focused, yeah, I had my own app and it was already, for example, it's around fan tokens, and I wanted to give all of my fans 10 new Kim coin every time they sign up, or subscribe to my newsletter, whatever it is. How would I go about integrating the DigitalBits blockchain network into my existing mobile application? What would that process look like?
Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, so I imagine your application have some backend. Mm-hmm. All right, so you can just integrate our SDK to your application, and each time new customers comes, you can create a new account for it in DigitalBits network, right? Automatically create Trustwine and send some tokens to its account. There's a lot of options actually. By default, those tokens could be sold, right? As I showed before. But as a owner of a token, you can just say, no, I don't want you to sell these tokens. I want you to have these tokens and use it only with my offers, with my products, etc. So yeah, it's just a matter of technology. But yeah, having this SDKs, you can just integrate.
Awesome. And I know Rajiv was talking about the multi-hop feature earlier. So let's say I'm just using the same fan token app as an example. I have my app, I have the Kim coin in it, and a person, let's say John on the other side of the world, has Alex coin and he wants to sell his Alex coin for Kim coin. Does this multi-hop feature allow for this, or what is actually going on if I wanted to sell Kim coin for Alex coin?
Yeah, so you need someone to you need a buyer, right? But with network you can yeah, you can create an offer. You can say I want to receive one asset to another asset, right? So but yeah, let me back to this question later, right? But I'm not sure about multi-hop, guys.
I can jump in there quickly if you'd like. Yeah, so when we think of multi-hop, we think of, it's not necessarily when you really dive down into it. The end result should be that you should be able to theoretically trade any asset on chain for any other asset on chain, which obviously reduces a lot of friction that happens, because all of a sudden people have the autonomy to keep their wealth and their assets of choice, and they're really only moving into other assets on a need-to basis, right? So we think of it as kind of aggregating all the proposed order pairings within a network. Like, let's say kind of everyone's putting their trades out there. And if you were to amalgamate those all into under one system, theoretically, as that system increases and as you have more assets and as you have more people putting offers in, you should be able to satisfy every proposed order pairing by kind of just moving those pieces around. So if we think of like a single hop being like, let's say you're going from Ethereum to USDC, right? But instead what happens is like, okay, cool. So you're going ETH on one side to, like, let's say ADA, just to use assets kind of everyone's familiar with. Maybe there's not a market for that, but instead it goes ETH to USDC and USDC to Bitcoin and then Bitcoin to ADA or something. That would be like a super simple example of how to think of multi-hop. So it gives you a lot more flexibility, because as opposed to having to go through specific order pairs that you'll see on an exchange or something like that, you have the freedom to kind of just propose anything. And then as the system gets bigger, the likelihood of that being satisfied.
Cool. Yeah, I see we have a question from Jack Burgies. When will Mainnet be fully functional or companies to start building on it? So I can take that up. Jack, thanks for the question. So Mainnet is fully functional right now, and companies and developers are already building on it, and our partners are integrating it. In terms of it being accessible to anyone, our token swap is the key component that needs to happen for individuals to be able to access mainnet tokens, so they can hold it in their reserve to conduct transactions like Alex would have showed us just now. And until that token swap happens, then it's anyone can start using it. But as of right now, people have been building on it. It's just been very much behind the scenes. Would we say that token swap is around the corner or well off? We have begun our token swap process. So, we can't give an exact timeline for that, because there's a lot of dependencies on other partners. For example, exchange integration mainnet. Bittrex has already agreed to integrate mainnet, and that process has already begun. So, it's hard for me to give an actual timeline, but what I can say is that it has already begun, and we're on track with our token swap.
Actually, with Bittrex, we just need to we have some requirements from them, and we just need to resolve everything. And yeah, we're all ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, the floor is open for anyone who wants to ask any questions. Feel free to drop it in the chat, or as Antonio said, yeah, you can raise your hands. Is there any point you guys feel like we should cover that we haven't touched on as yet? I see we're getting questions about our Roma, AS Roma. We'll save those questions for another forum. This is more so focused on developers and addressing any of their concerns.
And then guys, also if you don't field questions kind of today, like in the chat and whatnot, we always have the Discord channel. So feel free to reach out to the team there or our Telegram chat. Like we're going to be at your disposal for the duration of this competition.
Absolutely. Let me actually, I'm going to drop the link to the Discord channel here. See, question, what speed bumps have you encountered implementing the DigitalBits protocol? Alex, you want to take that?
Quickly before we jump into that, I guess what's the context of it? Like, is it in terms of rolling out the blockchain? Is it in terms of launching up applications on the protocol? If you could zero in on that a bit, I think that would help Alex answer the question better. Yeah, Alex, do you want to jump in? I'll make some comments afterwards.
Yeah, so basically, there was a lot of things. As DevOps, I'm usually working with microservices, etc. But with DigitalBits, I realized I need to use with DigitalBits Core, I need to use like EC2 instances, etc. And there was a lot of things of managing traffic to these instances and API calls, etc. So I'd say nothing unexpected. Maybe sometimes a lot of configuration, there might be delays, but in general, it was just related to a lot of stuff needs to be deployed. So right now, I think we have a properly working network, and we right now connecting another partners to this network, and everything looks okay. Yeah, so there is Bittrex going on, and we also thinking about making the network more stable and more fail tolerance right now. So yeah, but most of work goes to documentation and examples and SDKs.
I dropped the documentation links below. One follow-up, any issues scaling transactions? Have you load tested with the kind of traffic you're expecting?
So in lab, I believe that DigitalBits has been tested up to 10,000 transactions per second. When the networks becomes like user-facing type of thing, I think we're looking into doing a stress test. So that would be akin to what you guys saw on the Dash network a few years ago, where we kind of just have a bunch of people sending transactions to kind of test it in a more public light. But as of right now, the capacity is over 10,000 transactions per second. Alex, if you'd like to dig more into that, though, that'd be great.
Oh, well, I'm not worried about scaling the things. We have like 15 instances right now, and with auto-scaling configuration. So yeah, I think we will need to do some stress testing to prove everything will be working all right. But I think at this point, we are ready to accept, a lot of traffic.
Amazing, awesome to hear.
And then what about in terms of transaction processing time? How does that compare to something like Ethereum, for example?
It's hard to say. I'm sorry, guys, but I haven't worked with Ethereum. But I don't know. It really depends on how much free compute power we have on the network, and we have a lot right now. So I rather to answer this question after we have some like general stress testing, right?
Yes. So right now, obviously, as Alex was saying, like we're going to need to stress test this, but we're looking between 2 and 5 seconds for confirmation times. So when we compare this to Ethereum, where you're sitting anywhere between like, let's say 10 to 15 minutes, you're able to just handle a lot more traffic. You're able to do things much quicker to real time. And it's just a better user experience.
Got it. I guess we'll give the audience a bit more time, see if there's any more questions. I think we can start to wrap up here.
Yeah, we'll hang around for another 5 minutes or so. So if you guys have any inquiries, feel free to drop them in the chat or raise your hand. And as I was saying, if you don't ask them today, you always have access to the Discord channel and our Telegram chat, where we're all very active.
I see we have another question. Any charges hitting your API, like Infura? I'm not sure that I understand the question.
Maybe I can answer. So the APIs is free, but in case of transactions, as I mentioned before, you will need to send some fees to the network, right? Because of concern of DDoS attacks and spamming, etc. But yeah, APIs is free. You can check it right now.
Alex, I guess something cool to divulge. It's not necessarily based on consumer digital assets, but more so for the network. What would the process be for someone, whether they be here or anywhere else, to like, let's say, launch an instance of DigitalBits Core and start contributing to the security of the network? If you could just give like a brief overview.
Yes, so we have this Kim just sent developer DigitalBits IO site, and there is all documentation. But basically, we have publicly distributed Linux packages for Ubuntu, for RPM, Arch Linux, etc. We planning to they on not on public repositories right now, like Ubuntu repositories, but they are publicly available, and we have all the links in our documentation right now. In near future, we're planning to publish them to APT repositories like Ubuntu, Pacman, etc., etc. So, but right now, yeah, you can just install this package, DigitalBits Core. Write a configuration. We have examples in documentation, and you can start watching a network right now, even become a validator.
Awesome. And I think one of the other cool things to touch on would be if you look at, like, let's say Bitcoin, Ethereum, one of the emerging ones is Helium. Sometimes the infrastructure can be a little bit costly, it can be a little bit difficult to operate. So how would you compare running a DigitalBits node from, one, the ease of setup, and two, the cost of maintaining, let's say, from the electricity side? Like, how would that compare to running, let's say, a Bitcoin miner or an Ethereum miner or now a validator? Like, how do those things compare?
Yeah, well, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're using Hashrate, right? So you need to, rather have a very powerful CPU or GPU. So for DigitalBits, we we don't require any hash rate because it's a account type network. You just need a small instance if you do not, you are not expecting a big traffic on your site. You just need, in example, I can say we can run a node using just Amazon test3 medium instance, and it will be just enough for you to start.
Awesome. So the barrier to entry is a lot lower when it comes to running a DigitalBits node than it would some of the other networks.
Yeah.
Cool. There's actually there's a question I saw dropped in the Discord. Let me see if I can pull it up. It had to do with the management of assets. So I think Frank had asked a question about DigitalBits.toml. So is there any guidance on how we can manage issuing a lot of assets? So he was saying that the file isn't scalable. I imagine that this file isn't scalable if one domain is responsible for 1,000+ assets. So Alex, do you have any insight in terms of like kind of what tools people have to managing multiple assets when it gets to like larger scale stuff like 100, 1,000, 10,000 assets?
Yeah, so that's pretty simple actually. In this TOML file, there's actually ability to include another files. So if you have like 1,000 assets, you can just create a file for each asset, right? And you can automate this process. And DigitalBits will automatically recognize those files in your. I remember just a few hours ago, I've sent some comment about this. Actually, I heard this question before. So yeah, it looks like this. There's yeah. So in well-known folder, you just can create a currency TOML file. So and word currency could be whatever your name is, right? So and yeah, and that's how it works.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any other questions, guys? I think we're going to start wrapping up pretty soon. So if there's anything that you guys want to ask, feel free to either raise your hand or drop it in the chat. As I was saying, we'll be available via Discord and Telegram if there's anything that you couldn't think of today. And we'll be available there throughout the duration of this competition. Kim, I think we'll give it like another minute or two, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Awesome.
And like, guys, feel free to use this as much as you want. Like not just for technical questions and kind of how you can use the blockchain, but like feel free to use this as a feedback loop, bounce ideas and stuff like that. Like obviously, like we want to see the stuff that you guys put together, and however we can help, obviously here to do so.
Absolutely. I'm just consolidating all of the links that we discussed earlier. I'll drop that in the chat. 1 second.
Yeah, and additionally, we'll be releasing a guide to consumer digital assets. That'll obviously include this presentation, and then some more documentation about branded currencies, branded stablecoins, and whatnot. So you guys will have a pretty good view of like what constitutes these assets and then how they work in existing ecosystems.
Yep. Yeah, the consumer digital asset space, it's such a broad space, and there's so much that can be done. So I know that we only give, examples maybe related to loyalty points and fan tokens, but it's honestly such a large space with a lot of opportunity. Okay, I just sent all of our links. You can find more information there. That's the website, our social media channel, the Next.Stop Blockchain stuff, the Discord, and our developers documents. So everything is there. And as Rajiv said, if you need us, we're here to assist you. I think we're good for now. Thank you so much to Antonio and his team for allowing us to present to you. We're excited to see the projects that come out of the Next Stop Blockchain Startup Hackathon and look forward to growing the ecosystem with these developers. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and take care.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for attending, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure to host DigitalBits and get to know more about the project. And if any of our students at Penn have any questions, feel free to ask us in our portal at blockchainedu.org.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you.